Let's play find the camera. Okay, there we go. Good morning, fire breathers. Happy Monday. So, once again, gonna combine home, follow it up with the gym. I have a little whiteboard. Eventually, I'll have my whiteboards that I'll be able to use with that. But I have a feeling most of you watching are probably just listening to the melodic sound of my voice for our coaching tips, but just in case you're watching as well, I'm going to take you through your movements, talk about some movement standards. We got a lot to get through today, so diving in. Home. You've got 3 movements. You're doing them as an AMRAP for a certain amount of time. So, your movements are push-ups. Not hand release, not anything fancy, just standard push-ups, chest to deck, full extension up top. What this does mean, and I'm clarifying for if you're watching through or doing both tracks, you'll see what I have for the gym. I have different types of push-ups down there. So, home track for your push-ups, hands underneath your shoulders. I always say you can start with your knees on the ground because make sure your hands are in a good position. So fingers facing forward, about shoulder width apart, a little bit wider maybe, but not too much wider than that. And we don't want to be too narrow for this. Fingers are gripping the ground. You're screwing your hands into the ground. Imagine that you're ripping a paper towel that's between your hands without gripping and ripping. So how you do that, right, is to pull and twist it apart to tear a seam down the middle of that paper towel. That's what you're imagining doing on the ground there. So as you do that, I'm wearing black, so you probably can't see, but your elbows are going to end up facing forward. So the inside of your elbow is facing forward with that. What that allows us to do is as we lower ourselves into our push-up, we can keep our elbows close and shoot our elbows backwards. This creates a nice, stable pushing position. Keeps our shoulders in a good alignment, healthy shoulders, healthy rotator cuffs, helps prevent or push off any shoulder and elbow pain that we may have. So, twisting those hands into the ground, the front of your elbows are facing forward then. You can straighten your legs, nice, strong plank position, belly button in and tight, keeping those elbows in, lower yourself down to the ground and up. So for the home track, if you need to kind of lower yourself all the way down to the ground and kind of bow yourself up and bring yourself up to the top of your push-up, that is okay. So bow push-ups are or can be considered a form of kipping push-up, if you will. The most important point that we want to keep in mind when we're doing kipping push-ups like that is that we still want to maintain the integrity of our starting and our ending position. So we push down. If we're doing this, this is not my finished position. This is my finished position. Maybe I should take this off so that you can see my bright contrasting colors here. Okay, so starting good position here, down to the ground. If I bow, I'm pulling back up here, not ending here, okay? This is not counting. That's a cobra press, which has its place, but that's not what we're doing here. So those are your push-ups home. The biggest standard that you're trying to meet is that your elbows are closing smaller than 90 degrees. Again, chest to deck and pressing up. Next up, you have sit-ups. For your sit-ups, you kind of pick your style if you would like. So if you want to do butterfly sit-ups, if you want to do knees together sit-ups, that's totally up to you. If you need to pin your feet under an object, you can do that as well. My main points of performance for you are that your shoulders are hitting the ground on the floor behind you. You can use your arms for momentum if you want, pulling yourself up, shoulders over your hips. So thinking, reaching past your toes, pulling your shoulders as far forward as you can get, which is fully flexing and extending that spine, good full range of motion for our sit-up. If you have an ab mat, you can absolutely use that. And like I said, if you want to do knees together for your sit-up, again, fine. Still just reach forward, get that shoulder over that hip. Back here doesn't count for these anyways. And then our favorite, air squats. So traditional air squats, we're not doing anything funky or different with our feet, just feet about shoulder width apart, not too much wider, not too much narrower. Belly button in, ribs down, you're keeping that chest lifted. Your hands can do whatever they want. Weight is evenly distributed between the balls of your feet and your heels. Then you're going to slide those hips back, pop it, lock it, drop it. Hips then go straight back down. That keeps our weight in our heels. You can wiggle your toes to make sure that your weight's where it should be. Keeping that chest lifted, you don't want to collapse forward. Everything nice and tight. Come back up to standing. Squeezing your glutes, squeezing your quads up top. All the way down, all the way up, all the way down, all the way up. Do your best, like I said, to keep your weight in your heels. If you feel yourself rocking forward on your toes, just slide those hips back, kick it back. Remember, the biggest thing with air squats or any sort of squat that we're doing, you hear a lot of don't let your knees go past your toes. The reason for that is the first thing to bend in a squat is what takes the stress of the squat. So a lot of times what happens is if we don't load up our hips and our hamstrings and our glutes, the first thing that bends is our knees. If the first thing to bend is our knees are taking the stress of that squat, and then that's when we come forward, heels come up. It's doable, it's possible. Is it the safest, most efficient way? Not likely. More risk of injury that way. So hips back, then bend from there. Okay, your glutes, your hamstrings are bigger muscles than what's surrounding your knees, right? So home, have fun with it. For your scaling options, if you want to scale up, you are more than welcome to wear a vest for this. That's an easy way to do it. You can do banded push-ups to add some resistance. You can do some sort of weighted sit-up, so a plate, a dumbbell, a medicine ball, whatever you have for that, a kettlebell, and then air squats, same deal. You can hold some sort of weight. You can do banded squats. If you have bands, wrap a band around your knees, anything to add some extra resistance to that. And to scale it down, my favorite scaling option for push-ups is actually not off of the knees. So obviously doing knee push-ups shortens your lever, which makes it easier, but it actually also slightly alters your pushing mechanics for your upper body. So if you're working on being able to do push-ups from your toes and you're not quite there yet, your next best option is to do incline push-ups. So the height of the incline, the higher it is, the easier it is. So then the lower, the more closer you are to getting it, to doing it on the ground. Excuse me. So when you do incline push-ups, you have to be on your toes for the most part, right? That's what we're looking at. And you still want those same mechanics. That's what you're trying to teach your body, is to maintain that straight line from your heels to your head. Hands go just outside your shoulders. Bend your elbows until your chest is touching whatever object it is that you're pushing against, and go from there. And you can scale the push-up all the way up to wall push-ups. I don't know if I'm still in the frame if I come over here, but okay, that's an absolutely acceptable scaled, ultimate scaled option, okay? So for anyone that can't lay face down, if you're pregnant or elderly, that's a good option. And sit up, same thing. If you can't lay on your back at all whatsoever, you can do standing abs and do this twisted number. That would work as well. Any other questions, comments, concerns about the home track, scaling options, RX Plus options, contact me. I am more than willing, as your coach, to reach out to you and help you if you reach out to me. So, all right, Jakara's home. Jim, you're up. You've got a lot of work today. Happy Monday. Sweating out the weekend, getting you back on track. Back squats, standard back squats. Start with a rig, bar in that back rack position, step 2 away, get everything nice and tight, lock it in, hips back, down below parallel, and up for the number of reps that you have to do. Make sure you're taking 2 to 3 minutes of rest in between each set. Get as heavy as you can. This is your focus and your priority. Get strong, focus it, take your time with it. Make sure you're warm before you head into it. And then your first Metcon, you've got 2 movements. You've got running a distance. It's a shorter distance, ideally somewhat of a sprint, which is of course relative, but it should not be a easy catch your breath jog. Okay, you are running this. Then you've got alternating dumbbell snatches. I recommend warming up to that weight. It's a little bit heavier than what we see in the open and in standard competitions. We train heavy to go light. So, but your standards for these are still the same as if it were a lighter weight. So that dumbbell is starting between your legs on the ground. Your free hand is free. It's not pushing off of that other leg. It can start behind you if you need to help generate some momentum, but it's not here. So, dumbbell in between your feet, hand free. You're going to deadlift, jump, and shrug, high pull. You can mini squat to power snatch that dumbbell up overhead. Ending in full extension with control, straight line. What does that mean? It means it's not here and we're counting it as a rep. It's not here. It's not anywhere out of control. We're here and up. Doesn't need to be straight up over your head like this. I realize that takes a lot of mobility, but your wrist needs to be over your shoulder, over your hip, over your ankle. For dumbbell snatches, right, you're doing a little bit of a twisting motion with this. Almost like starting a lawnmower, but not backwards. It's more up. So just like in a barbell snatch, you want to think about keeping that dumbbell close to your body and kind of scraping up, using the extension of your legs, jumping through your heels, squeezing your glutes, lifting, using that body weight momentum to get that dumbbell moving up off the ground as high as you can before you turn under, pull under, turn over that dumbbell. So you're here, jump and up. Switch it however is safest for you. Back down to the ground, jump and up, okay? That's for total amount of time. You have some strict work up next. So it's on the clock-ish. You can rest as much as you need to in between your rounds, but you're doing each round on a running clock. So it says strict push-ups. What is a strict push-up, Ray? There's only one way to do them, Coach. What are you talking about? Okay, so for high volume push-ups, we like to kind of like bow ourselves up and we kind of do this like wormy motion, which is fine, right? In Metcons, we make that exception to get the work capacity up by getting work done quickly as long as we're meeting our beginning and ending standards. For this, these strict push-ups, I just couldn't think of another name, your quads are staying off of the ground. You're not bending and bowing your back at all. It's strictly arms and chest. So you'll start yourself up in your push-up position. Same standards apply as I talked about in the home for the push-up. Screw those hands into the ground. Chest to deck, getting those elbows below 90 degrees and up, okay? Without bowing and sagging and without those quads resting on the ground. If you have large quads and they're touching the ground as a byproduct of that movement, that's fine. That's not my intention with saying that, okay? So again, the idea is not that you're doing push-ups like this, but that you're doing them like this, okay? Plank push-ups, if you will. You're following that up with a short little rest, note the time. Then you have a certain amount of time that you're doing strict pull-ups. Strict pull-ups. For our intents and purposes, you are starting from a straight arm hang. None of this weird, oh, these are as straight as my arms go. No, none of my athletes, nobody that I've seen, could only ever get their arms this straight. When you're hanging from that bar, full extension, lockout, hanging down at the bottom here, you're not using your hips, you're not using your legs, you're only using the strength in your arms to pull yourself up, chin over bar, back down to full extension, okay? As many of those as you can. You're ending your work segment with elbow plank on the stability ball. You're not doing circles with it or anything, you're just holding. So if you have a big giant medicine ball, that's what I'm talking about here, not like the wall balls, but the big rubber ones. Get your elbows on it, hold a plank for that time. Rest as long as you feel you need to before you do it again. Your score is the max amount of pull-ups that you do in one round. You can leave your individual reps down in the notes. Your final Metcon-ish of the day, sea legs. So you've got 15 minutes on the clock. You can have your clock count up, you can have a countdown, whatever's your preference for this. You've got 2 rounds of work to do. So you've got calories on the rower. It is different between the men and the women this time. Then you've got box jump overs. For the box jump overs, player's choice, however you can get these done the quickest and safest. So your options are to face the box, 2 foot, land, over, and turn. You can go lateral and laterally hop on top of the box and over. If you would so like, you can jump and clear the box. 2 foot takeoff, 2 foot landing. So no giant like leaping over the box, okay? 2 foot takeoff and landing. Your rep ends on the other side of the box. How you get there is up to you as far as what direction you're facing or how many jumps it takes you. Then you've got front squats, not from the rig. You can squat clean your first one, or you can power clean it and then front squat from there. However long it takes you to get through those 2 rounds, that's cool. I don't know if I put that as a tie break time. I might have. But then in your remaining time, you're finding a 1 rep max clean, hang clean, and jerk. Player's choice. Power clean, squat clean, whatever kind of jerk you want, okay? Hands need to stay on the barbell for the entire complex for it to count as 1 set. So you're going to clean that barbell up, hang, and jerk. It could look whatever way you want it to look. Clean, clean, jerk, okay? From the ground to your shoulders, from your knees to your shoulders, from your shoulders overhead. Okay, however we get there is how we get there, safely, heavy. Your final piece for the day, the non-sexy stuff, part 2, is on an air bike. So just whatever model you have, can be an assault bike, can be a Schwinn, can be an Airdyne, can be an Echo bike. There's a lot of makes and models out there. As long as it's not the bike erg, if it's a fan belted bike, that's what we're looking for. Note how many rounds. Please look at your minutes of work and minutes of rest, and you're doing the total amount of calories across the 3 rounds of work. straight up pure cardio sweat sesh. So that's that. Questions, comments, concerns, hit me up. I'm here for you guys. Yeah, I think that's everything. Covered it all. So have fun with it. Do your best. Always do your best. Attack with fire. Wear your shirts if you have them. At me, follow, share, tag, spread the word. Check out the website. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Catch you guys tomorrow. Dracarys.